Here's a secret. Psychotherapists don't always love their clients. Or rather, we don't love all of them. I've had one or two that I actively disliked. My heart used to sink when I looked at my appointment book and saw certain names there. One of them treated therapy like a poker game. He didn't like to give anything away. He liked to win. And I was his opponent. He always had very odd views about women. He didn't really think they should have jobs. Look at this. Excuse me, I'm going to have a bit of a shout. What happened to Sunday newspapers? This used to be a reputable paper. It used to have news in it. It's all gossip and thrash and celebrities you've never heard of, and food porn, shoe porn, straightforward porn disguised as something sociological. And, oh my God, one of my clients. Richard Fallon, what are you doing in here? Richard Fallon MP. My children are being bullied because I'm a member of Parliament. I think I'll pretend I haven't read that.
Did you see the papers this weekend?
I didn't, I'm afraid, Richard.
I did an interview.
Oh.
About bullying. I don't know how much good it's going to do me, but on the other hand, it wasn't a bad photo. Not like that one where they made it look like I'd had a hair transplant.
You have had a hair transplant.
And, as you know, that is to go no further than these walls.
What's said in the consulting room is absolutely sacrosanct,
Because
Richard.
apart from anything else, if anyone ever finds out I'm seeing a shrink, I'm finished. Kaput. It's over. Papers would have a bloody field day.
I'm not sure that they would, you know.
No, they would. They couldn't resist it. Straight for the jugular. What was I talking about?
You did an interview about bullying.
Oh, yes. Well, actually, my son, the reason he's being bullied is probably nothing to do with me. It's probably because he's fat. It's a nightmare. We don't overfeed him. Never have junk food in the house. And he's 12 stone. He's only 11. Looks like a barrage balloon. I don't know where Toby's getting the food from, because it's not from us. Last year, when I was a junior minister, we did a Christmas card, you know, with a photo of the family. And frankly, it was embarrassing. My wife, myself, and my daughter Charlotte, ordinary, normal-sized people, and then Toby. The Zeppelin. Can't do any more cards like that till he loses a bit of weight. Well, a lot, actually. It's comfort eating, that's all it is.
What do you think he might want comforting about?
I've no idea. Look, I'm not insensitive, but I was a health spokesman at the time. It was ridiculous. One of the tabloids printed a copy of it with the headline, Toby Jugs.
Yes?
Because he looked as if he had breasts. Well, he didn't look like he had breasts. He has got breasts.
And how did that make you feel when you saw that photograph?
I saw my promotion bite the dust, that's for sure. You can't have a health spokesman who promotes obesity. It's rank hypocrisy. And then there was all that fuss. Did you read it when I was being tipped for Transport Secretary?
I'm not sure that I did.
It was everywhere. TV news, everywhere. I was the hot tip. The job was mine. I was on the Today programme. Twice. I got John Humphrey's autograph for my mother. And then they go and give it to Helen Camford. What the hell does she know about transport?
I don't know.
Have you any idea of the humiliation? And then the pretending that I never wanted it in the first place, followed by the knowledge that I'm now seen as a complete and utter failure.
By whom?
Everyone.
I'm not sure that many people know who you are, actually.
I can't even get on local radio now. I can't get on a quiz show, for God's sake. The only time the government wheel me out is when they need someone to take the flak for something that even God couldn't justify, like escaped rapists teaching in primary schools, or why our military helicopters are made out of Lego.
That must be very difficult for you. But have you ever thought...
So what I'm doing now, right, is attempting to keep my profile up. I know it sounds shallow, believe me, I'm aware of that, but it's dog-eat-dog out there. When you disappear from the papers, you might as well be dead. I'm serious. I bumped into an old school friend of mine a couple of months ago, and he said, "What happened to you? I thought you were an MP." And I said, "I still am." And he said, "I never see you on the telly anymore. I was worried you might have died." This is the sort of thing I have to go through on a regular basis.
And is that why you decided to come to therapy?
Is what why?
The idea that people think you're dead.
No, of course, most people don't think I'm dead. Obviously, my wife and family. On the other hand, I hardly ever see them. Maybe they do think I'm dead. When my daughter was young, she thought I lived inside the television set because that was mostly where she saw me.
I never saw you.
And now, I'm not kidding you, I don't think I could get a slot on hospital radio.
Would you like a slot on hospital radio?
No, of course I wouldn't. I mean, look, I'm exaggerating a bit, all right, but there was a time when I was asked to do the news quiz. As it happens, I was too busy.
Thank God, because you're not remotely funny.
I was very busy all the time. I was on the television, the radio, I was in the papers. I was the coming man. I kept myself fit. I kept myself more than just presentable. I was voted third sexiest man in the Commons by Heat magazine. 2 years running. And now, for some reason, I'm off the radar.
And it's important for you to be on the radar.
Of course it is. If you're not visible, you're dead. I've just told you that.
Except you're not dead. You're sitting here talking to me.
I'm speaking metaphorically.
Are you sure?
What do you mean, am I sure?
Perhaps you genuinely do feel dead.
No. Flat.
Mm-hmm.
I feel flat. As if I'm only half alive, which is probably a bit different to being dead. I mean, obviously I'm breathing and everything, I know that much.
Have you ever heard the phrase, the frenzy of renown? It's a book by Leo Brody.
Exactly. Bang on. Being renowned is a bit of a frenzy. You're always rushing from one meeting to the next. Your driver's on permanent call, Paxman's wanting an interview, the Observer's on the line. You basically need a whole army of people to get you from one end of the day to the other end because you're so busy you don't have a moment to even grab a sandwich.
What I'm really talking about is why you need not only to do your job, but also need to be seen doing it. Why is it important for people to see you on the television or hear you on the radio?
Look. We live in a global world where it's all about communication, right? And it's no good sitting...
That doesn't actually mean anything at all.
Notice you. You have to get out there and grab the headlines. I mean, you want your constituents to know who you are, don't you? Otherwise they might... I mean, they have to know you to vote for you, don't they?
You could canvass door to door. Then they'd know who you are.
Well, yes, obviously, of course, I do that as well. I mean, I would do if there was an election. How do we get onto this?
I think what I'm getting at, Richard, is this really about your constituents, or is it more about you?
I don't know what you mean.
Why is it so important to you to be famous? Not just a good, decent, hard-working MP.
Which I am.
But also a famous one.
Because everyone wants to be someone, don't they?
You don't think you already are someone?
Well, of course I'm someone. It's just I want... I mean... I don't know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. When you decided to come to therapy, Richard, can you remember what it was you were thinking?
Not really, no.
You told me you were very unhappy.
Well, of course I'm bloody unhappy. I wouldn't be sitting here week in, week out if I was gay as a lark, would I? I'm not gay, incidentally, just in case you think that was some sort of Freudian slip. And neither was it meant in a pejorative sense. I meant gay in the original sense of the word, although I recognise that the word has, of course, changed its meaning, and I have no problem at all with that. I'm not one of those people who goes on about, oh, we've just lost a lovely word from our language, it's been hijacked. In fact, I have many, many gay friends. I'd just like that noted for the record.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what it is you might be unhappy about?
Well, I suppose what it is I have this very strong feeling that I'm becoming invisible.
Can you describe that for me?
Literally. I'm becoming invisible.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not invisible to you, obviously, but that's because I'm paying you to notice me.
Is that how you think of it?
I got my PA, Hannah, right, to ring up the news quiz to say it was such a pity I couldn't do the programme a couple of years back due to pressure of work, but now I'm available and would love to do it. And the person on the other end of the phone said he didn't know who I was. I mean, how could he know me 2 years ago, but not now? You can't unknow someone, can you?
Well, maybe it was a different person 2 years
The
ago.
only time I feel people know who I am is when I walk down the street with Toby and everyone goes, oh, look, there's that MP with the fat son.
Do they really do that? Or do you just imagine they do?
No, they do it. I know they do. And I want to shout, look, it's not my fault. I've no idea why he's this size. It's nothing to do with me.
If it's nothing to do with you, what do you think it might be to do with?
I don't know. I suppose he must be unhappy about something. But what? I don't know. He won't tell me. That, plus, basically, he just eats too much. I mean, I'm unhappy and I don't eat too much, so I don't understand it. It's not something I can identify with.
You don't identify with it at all?
No, I don't. Actually, I was a little bit on the tubby side as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Sports days were a bit of a nightmare because we had to do gymnastics in just our shorts, and I was fairly large. I broke the springboard in front of the vaulting horse on one occasion. Mind you, I think it was cracked to start off with. Someone probably sabotaged it. That's the sort of thing they used to do to me. So I suppose in that way I do identify with Toby's problem, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
They used to call me the human blob. One day, they all peed in my sports kit before a cross-country run. And then they ran behind me, making pig noises as I squelched along, covered in adolescent urine. I went on a diet after that. I ate nothing but Maltesers and tinned mandarin oranges for 3 months. God, it was awful. I still can't eat Maltesers, or custard, actually.
How old were you?
15.
Oh.
And then my parents took me away from the place and sent me to the local grammar school, where I was much happier, because I was more or less normal size by this time. And then I got a girlfriend, and no one ever knew I'd once been as big as a house. In fact, you're the only person who knows about it apart from my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife, who found out by accident when my mother told her. I'd just been promoted to junior health minister. We were cracking open some carver, and my mother decided to reveal that as an adolescent, I'd been 17 stone. Just at the moment of my greatest triumph, she brings out a photograph of me as the human blob, and Jenny, that's my wife, screams. Honestly, she did. She screamed and said, "Who's that?" I've never forgotten that. Oh, God.
Richard.
I'm going to lose my seat, aren't I? In the election? I'm going to lose my seat.
I'm sorry, Richard.
Thank you.
I'm afraid your time's up for today. I'll see you on Friday. Would you like a tissue?
Thank you.
Take 2.
Thank you. Do you mind if I take the box? I've got to go straight to a meeting.